First of all, if this toggle is changing what's available in this blade, the toggle should be in the blade. It needs to be redesigned and it needs to move inside the play blade.
So with the recent state of the games being a little bit lackluster, I mean, November was Kaladesh announcement, December was a little bit lackluster, January was just the announcement of the mobile version, which had already been previously announced, and then February kinda didn't happen. It puts a big emphasis on this mobile client beta being good. Well, I got a phone, so let's have a look at it. DC from the future here. Yeah, and Historic Anthology 4 also sucked. So no, I'm not spending 25,000 gold on that. My disappointment remains immeasurable. So for this analysis, I'm going to be on the Samsung Galaxy S20 FE. It's a fairly up-to-date phone. The beta is only compatible with pretty recent phones, but this one should run it just fine. Before we do our comparison though, I would of course be remiss not to remind you to please leave a like and a subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot if you find this content entertaining or educational, and please consider sharing it to a friend. Okay, let's go! Okay, the first thing to address is the performance issue. Now I was expecting, given that the PC client really chugs a little bit, that the mobile client would be even worse. I was fully expecting this to be 2 minutes to load, maybe 3 minutes to load. I was definitely not expecting the mobile client to actually load faster. Here are the specs for my PC on the screen. So it's not exactly top of the line, but it doesn't exactly chug either. And this was a really pleasant surprise. So this has clearly been very well optimized for mobile, actually. Okay, so let's have a quick look around the interface now. The home screen looks pretty similar to how it looks on the PC desktop client. There are a few subtle differences which really need a side-by-side comparison to be able to see. So for example, on the left-hand side, these tabs are slightly narrower. Now I presume that's so that the UI can be responsive because different phones can have different aspect ratios. And I presume the idea is that eventually, if they are going to be supporting older phones, which are potentially smaller, that gives those menu items a bit more room to move. Similarly, at the bottom, you can see that the daily quests now require you to be able to touch on them to see what they are. And this again just saves some of that horizontal space compared to the desktop version. A very subtle change is up in the top right-hand corner here. Your direct challenge, help, and settings actually have these thin lines now separating them, and that's just to make the clickable area on the phone just really explicit. You'll also notice as well, if we do a left-right comparison, that a bunch of the buttons are also physically bigger as well to make them easier to click with your finger. And finally, we've taken away the friends list in the bottom left-hand corner. That's totally understandable. I imagine they'll put that back in later, but because this is beta, we're not expecting this to be feature complete. Now, moving between the tabs, you do still have this waiting for server wait between every tab that you've got to click on. I wouldn't have expected that to be different because this is communicating with the server. And I've mentioned elsewhere that these tabs should be able to load without having to talk to the server every time. An interesting thing is that the desktop client, once you've been to a particular tab, does cache it, whereas the mobile client doesn't seem to do that, which is a little bit disappointing because I would expect once I've been to a tab for it to be able to hold that in memory. But I am actually surprised, given that this is a beta, how many of these features are actually in there. When this was announced, for example, I was not expecting the deck builder to be in here at all. I expected it to just be a beta that allowed you to play games with decks that were already built. The controls, perfectly reasonable, they've been adapted to mobile very well. So overall, I'm giving this a thumbs up for the general interface. As I alluded to in the introduction, seeing the all play modes toggle in the blade, very pleasing for me on a personal level. I am a little bit disappointed with the responsiveness of this scroll. That could be a lot smoother, and I'd like to see that improved in a future build. But broadly, navigating around these menus has translated very well to the mobile client. I'm actually genuinely impressed by this. Okay, so that's the interface gone over. Let's have a look at some gameplay. Well, similarly to the main interface, there are a few changes here and there to make things make sense on a stretched out mobile phone screen. The lands have been moved over to the left-hand side, and the cards in your hand now fan in and fan out to save space on the screen. I think these are overall good changes. The overall layout of where everything is basically exactly the same. You still have your hand in the center, you have cards that are accessible from your graveyard shown as a separate hand of cards. You have library and graveyard over on the left-hand side. So this is more variation on a theme. There are a few differences in the button prompts that you're able to see. So for example, View Battlefield has been replaced by this toggle icon with an eye, and that's a perfectly reasonable change. Now obviously, because this is beta, there are a few janky pieces. These lands up on my opponent's side are non-basic lands, and there's clearly something a bit strange going on there. There's a little bit of weird overlap with the pets as well. And the other thing I really want to touch on at the moment is there is a little bit of a problem with setting stops. There is a visual indication to indicate whether the stop you're setting is a stop on your opponent's turn or your turn, but I have had it plenty of times where I'm trying to set a stop for my upkeep and you can't do that unless you're in your opponent's turn. Now that can cause you difficulties, because if you don't get priority during your opponent's turn, because let's say you're tapped out, you might not get an opportunity to set an upkeep stop. And in a deck that plays Castle Lockwayne, I have fallen foul of that a few times. But we're not here to talk about individual bugs. Individual bugs can be fixed, and they will be fixed as part of the beta. We're talking about the overall feel of the interface. Does it translate well to a mobile screen? And the conclusion I have to come to, having played this, is yeah, it absolutely does. There's some polish needed, but this is actually working really well. So overall, this port is really good on mobile. There are a few jarring issues with the gameplay, but it's a lot more feature complete than I would think for a beta. It's a lot more performant than I would have assumed for a mobile phone. And as they say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Do I use the mobile version? Yes. Even though I'm working from home at the moment, if I'm downstairs and my computer's upstairs, if I'm cooking myself some pasta or whatever, I've got 10 minutes free, I'll just load it up and I'll play a game. So the convenience of the mobile version really does outweigh any of these small issues that it has. So overall, I'm going to say, good job, Wizards. Nice one. All that remains for me to say is thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider leaving a like and a subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot and it is totally free. Share it with a friend. Other than that, thank you very much and we'll talk soon.